finding out what I don't like, so which means experiencing different things and getting out of your comfort zone, failing, succeeding, trying, disappointing yourself or being disappointed, it helps you to understand who you really are.
Hola a todos, bienvenidos y bienvenidas a un episodio nuevo de University Community. Yo soy César Pérez y el día de hoy tengo el placer de presentarles a un gran amigo. Él es de Turquía, él es Percin.
Hola César, ¿qué tal?
Hola. Y este va a ser un episodio súper importante. Es el primer episodio que hacemos en inglés. Te recomiendo que si no hablas muy bien inglés o no tienes muy buen listening, vayas a nuestro canal de YouTube y ahí lo vas a encontrar con los subtítulos, ¿ok?
Sí, perfecto.
So, bro,
Tell me,
how
bro.
are you, brother?
I'm very good, thank you very much. It's good to see you here.
Oh, man.
After 2 years, right?
2 years,
No.
yes.
I was Cesar's guest
Yes.
in Guanajuato when I was here for the first time 2 years ago. So
Actually, in couch surfing, do you remember that I said that it's a good app for people around the world?
Definitely.
Practice English specifically.
definitely, I met a lot of people from all around the world thanks to couchsurfing as well.
Yes.
I am hosting as well back home in Istanbul,
Yes.
but I'm also staying at places. So I met a lot of interesting people, yeah.
Yes. Let's start with a little introducing.
Sure. As you said, I'm from Turkey, Istanbul, and I'm 34 years old right now. So I consider myself, when people ask me, what do you do, Percin? I say that I say 5 things in general. I say that I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a trainer / speaker, I am an author, we'll talk about that I guess,
Okay.
and I'm a traveler. So this is how I explain myself. But obviously there's much more detail than that, but mainly I have a training firm where we deliver trainings to companies, organizations, institutions. And apart from that, as you also know, and we'll talk about it I guess, I have some different pet projects as we call it, like we have a startup, I write books, I give speeches, I give online classes. So I'm an entrepreneur, or you can say I'm a hustler.
Yes, an entrepreneur, good brother, good friend, good traveler. And actually today we will talk a little bit about that thing that you already talked about. So first of all, you said that you have 7 books.
Yes,
So
I do.
where do you want to start the traveling? Because you have been in 83 countries around the world.
Yes.
7 books. You said / speaker, but
Yes.
man, that speaker is like, man.
It's cool. Right?
Tutor, English teacher, Udemy. I would like to talk a little bit about this dream work that you are like traveling
Yeah.
and working and
Yeah.
making money and making your business. You
Yeah.
know, it's like the dream work for people, for young people specifically.
Especially, yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. How did you start, or how was?
Well, to start from the very beginning,
Yes.
it was generally thanks to my experiences in the university.
Okay.
Like I was born and raised in Istanbul, which is like a city as big as Mexico City,
Yeah.
as you might know. And then I moved for university to a smaller city. And that helped me to take part in activities more in that university. And I didn't just want to go to school, go to my classes and come back to my house or my dormitory. I wanted to do more. And I was looking around. So I tried acting, I tried scouting.
Okay.
And then I found an organization that really fits me, like the person I am, because I always liked traveling, I always liked languages, I always liked other cultures. So I found this European Students Organization, which had different conferences, seminars all around Europe that you could go, funded by the governments. So I started being very active there.
Okay.
And actually the people I met there, like very high quality people, young people, good role models, the things I experienced there, it improved me as a person a lot. Like it changed me a lot. It helped me build on my potential a lot. And after that, like it was never the same for me again, because I knew life wasn't about going to school, getting good grades and coming back.
Exactly.
Extracurricular activities helped me a lot. With my English, as you know, English is not my second language,
Yes.
but I speak it on a good level because I traveled a lot, I've been to a lot of conferences. So a lot of soft skills I learned there that would be useful for my life in the future. And after those experiences, again, nothing would be the same for me, because as I didn't just do school and home, in my future life, it wouldn't be enough for me just to go to work, earn money and come home.
Yeah.
It had to be more than that.
Yes.
And so it started with this student organization and my awareness and a lot of effort, where I start going to a lot of countries in Europe, especially in Europe, for conferences, seminars, then in Asia, in other countries. So each time my point of view or my vision increased and widened more and more. And I put on skills to myself that would be very useful with communication, risk management, organizations and all. And this was the beginning of what made me I am today, before my and during my university years. And afterwards, of course, it is a different story when I graduated, but I can tell more about this if you want.
Yes, and I want to know, or we want to know a little bit more about. And actually, you said that you didn't was looking for the traditional life, like you have to work 8 hours and these kind of things, like normal.
Yeah.
And that's super important for me because I don't know, what do you think about the system, the educational system, about the grades, that if you get a 10 or the 100%, you are better than people with a 7 or I don't know, the lowest grade, and normally, I mean, it's like something normal around the world, but actually there is a lot of people super interesting,
exactly.
I mean, that kind of people that they are making more things about the traditional things.
Of course.
And I think that that's a problem, because when you don't know what do you want to do with your life, normally you take the traditional way and you lose this part of get I don't know, you said that you were like the part of acting, you like to dance too, and that kind of things. I think that it's where you can learn and you can develop yourself more.
Exactly. I mean, I believe and I know from experience that everybody can be successful at one thing or more.
Yes.
But the conventional educational system that is all around the world actually, it generally focuses on the vertical sciences, as they said. Like, you have to be either good at literature or maths or science. So if you're not good at one of these, unless you're very lucky that you're in a very correct institution or that you have a very good teacher, you are considered stupid or unsuccessful. Because for a lot of people, maths is not suitable for their talents. But some people are great at art. But if you don't concentrate the kid there, it's very hard for that kid to have initiative and focus on that. He must be very lucky, or she must be very lucky. So the education system right now is definitely not the optimal version. It is more, I mean, this is more like a leftover of the industrial period, where you need people to work for the system, right? As you said, go there at 8, 8:30, come back at 6, 7, watch TV, sleep, do it again for the rest of your life. Retire for very little money and die. And like buy a house with the loan, with the credit, so pay for it for the rest of your life. Get married to $1,000, paid for the rest of your life. Have one honeymoon and that's it. And even generally a place that you don't like. So a lot of people, because of the system, are living lives that they don't want, because they don't have the opportunity to discover themselves. So it's also the responsibility of the person itself, because as an adult, you have to find your way. You cannot always blame your teacher, your parents, your country. A lot of people in Turkey is the same, a lot of people in Mexico is the same, right? It's like, my parents, my school. But it requires a lot of investment to yourself. Like mental investment, emotional investments, IQ, EQ and all that. And once you go out of this system a bit, you don't have to be like completely apart from the system. Like, I'm also a part of the system. But I experienced corporate life and I didn't like it. I experienced like having a shop, a hostel, going to the same place every day. I didn't like it. So finding out what I don't like, so which means experiencing different things and getting out of your comfort zone, failing, succeeding, trying, disappointing yourself or being disappointed, it helps you to understand who you really are. And then you enter a direction that you know what you want in life and you're super focused about it. As you said, like Bruce Lee, laser focused. And then if you invest in yourself enough, if you have the work ethic, obviously, because even if you love your job, nothing comes without working effectively. You don't have to work like 20 hours per day, but you have to work effectively. And then when you do something that you enjoy, you're satisfied. And then when you're satisfied and when you're good at it, you will earn more money than you ever imagined. You will be more famous than you ever imagined. But you will have this in a good way, because you might earn $50,000 at a job, which is very difficult, of course. But if you don't like it, you'll be miserable. But you can earn more with a job that you like as well. So even though the system doesn't allow it, mostly, there are opportunities, but the person has to invest in himself. And you don't always need money for that. That's not an excuse as well. There are so many opportunities.
Yes, you said three things that for me it's like better than gold. The first one, you have to take the responsibility
Exactly.
of yourself, not the government.
Stop blaming,
not your family, not your parents or whatever
exactly.
you want. You have to take the responsibility of what are you doing, what works for you. The second one that you said is you have to get some experience, try new things,
exactly.
Learn new things. I mean, even if you are not good at
learn to fail.
And that's okay. I mean, I think that here in Mexico, or in general in the South of America and Central America and Mexico, we have like a problem, or it gives us like fear, the part of failing.
Yeah.
And it's super different in United States or these countries in Europe that is like you have to try to try and practice and get, even if you fail, you learn it.
You learn more.
Yes.
Exactly.
So that's another thing that you said that is like, man, super important. And the third one is you don't need exactly money. I mean, if you are working for money, even if you get the money, you won't be
happy.
Yes, unhappy, because you are probably 20 hours working for a company where you are like super stressed, and
you will lose your health at some point. You'll be cancer or heart attack,
and you will die. Yes, with money, but
or you'll be miserable for the rest of your life.
So, wow, super amazing beginning, bro. So let's talk about teaching. Udemy, you are part of both sides because you are a teacher too.
As well.
So you know how the system works, the grades. How are you, now that you know that the normal system or the educational system have some issues or parts that we can do it better, and that you are with this model, digital model, that it's super cool for me. So what do you think about the online classes, the online? Do you think that it's better, that it's the same, or what do you think?
Well, it's not a comparison actually, but and obviously we can talk between about two different time periods. One before Corona, one after Corona. So before Corona it was debatable because obviously people like to go somewhere, sit somewhere, experience it. It has a different energy. So we cannot say one is good or one is bad. Like putting people in a class, we can't say it's better or worse. What I think is this has its advantages. Like being in a class is more interactive, the energy is higher generally, and you're more focused because you're in a class. And online obviously has its advantages, like you can do it wherever you want. Super practical. I mean, not everybody has a laptop or smartphone. Like there are people in Africa or like half of the world still doesn't have access. So we are taking it for granted. So that's another issue. But a lot of people don't go to school as well, so it's debatable, right? But like with me, what I do, I mean, but the people don't. Apart from giving trainings myself, like on corporations, in schools, or giving speeches, which I used to do a lot before Corona. Now I do it online. So there are different ways to do it. One is I open Zoom or Instagram Live and make a live talk. And people ask me questions, they follow, they send hearts, whatever. And secondly, I record myself, like right now. People will not watch us live. We're doing this today is middle April, and maybe people will watch us after 10 days, 1 month, we don't know. So I do that. I record myself and I put it on platforms like YouTube, Udemy, Teachable, sometimes for free, sometimes I sell them. So it depends what we do. And with the recording, again, for me it has a lot of advantages because I can prepare it whenever I want. When I put it there, even if I sleep, people can watch it. And same for people, they don't need to wait for me to go live. So there are a lot of practicalities. And I guess in today's world, like now when the corona situation gets a bit normal, there will still be like seminars or meetings, but not as much, because people understood that this is a very easy and practical way and much cheaper and better for the environment because you don't need to fly and release carbon footprint. So it has a lot of advantages. So I think a good mixture is a good option. So sometimes you need that interactivity. I like looking at the eyes of people and seeing this spark. But I also like to reach out to a person that is in Africa or in Asia or in Middle East that can watch me from Instagram that normally wouldn't have otherwise. So I think it's also socially very responsible that you can access your knowledge to people that would have never had access before.
Yeah.
So that part is very exciting for me.
Yes. Super cool. Because
Yeah.
as you said, you can teach or share with people around the world. And it's like, man, how it's super different the way how think people here, people in Asia.
Exactly.
People in
Doesn't matter.
Turkey.
As long as you can speak with them, like if you speak English, it's a huge advantage, of course. So then you have like 6+ billion possible customers. And also in terms of earning money, it's an amazing opportunity.
Yes.
For example, a course of mine is, let's say, $20, right? So there are 2 billion, 3 billion internet users. So I can potentially sell this course to every one of them. So imagine that 1 million people buy my course for $20. Some people sell this many,
Yes.
and then you're a millionaire or a billionaire. So, and from your house you can do that,
Yes.
and then you have all the independence you want financially.
Yes. That's super cool.
The potential is amazing.
Yes.
We have to use it.
Yes. And you said that this little thing that if you speak English, and I would like to talk a little bit more about it because I normally try to share with the community
Yeah.
that please speak,
Improve
learn,
English, yeah.
practice. But I think that we have that big issue with the English, like, oh no, it's not for me, or
Yeah.
we think that just a few ones, like born with this superpower of
Yeah.
speaking English.
Amazing ability.
Yes, and it's like, man, no, you have to practice. I mean, I'm not the best one speaking English, but I try my best, and I keep learning. So you as teacher and teacher of English, what could you recommend us as a student for get
Yeah,
practice?
I share a lot about this actually because a lot of people in Turkey and rest of the world, they want to learn English.
Yeah.
It's funny because when I learned English, I'm 34 and I started learning when I was 7, 8. There were almost no resources. We had dictionaries, like huge dictionaries that you had to look for a word, and we had these VHS tapes that was very expensive to find. No Netflix, nothing. Obviously, we had to buy books, so no applications, nothing. So
No
it was way harder, but I learned at a very good level. So regardless the tools, you can do it, and today it's super easy.
Yeah.
So the how part is very easy. A lot of people ask me like how, like which sources I can access, which applications, and I tell them, I help them of course, but there's a lot. I understand that people are getting lost a bit, but if you Google like applications for English and you use the first 2 ones, that's a step. But people even don't do that.
No.
And that is because I think, as in everything else, people think they want it because the society pressures them, and this creates a resistance. But subconsciously, a lot of people don't,
Yes.
because a lot of people lack self-love, self-respect because of things that happened in our childhood. It's normal. I mean, everybody has it. But some people get over it, a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, they still have this little child inside that the parent or the teacher was criticizing and saying, you cannot do it,
Yeah.
you're not worthy enough. And this scares them from making mistakes. And to learn something, obviously you have to make mistakes.
Yes.
So you're not born with like, can I have a glass of water, please? You say like, me water, please. So it's, and then you learn, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people subconsciously don't want it because of these reasons. They're afraid to fail. They're afraid to go out of their comfort zones. They're afraid to have their quality of life increase when they learn English.
Yeah.
Because again, a lot of people, like, we sabotage ourselves a lot.
Yeah.
So the how part is very easy. Like, I can count you 50 applications, and you don't have to use 50 of them, like 1, 2. But first, what I say, you have to understand and internalize why do you want to do anything, also in English.
Yes, the why.
Why do I want to learn English? For me, I started with computer games. I didn't understand them. I wanted to. And my why was like, I want to understand this. And then that why transformed into, because I saw English used everywhere. Like in the movies, when the tourists came, they spoke English. I said, okay, English is a world language and I want to communicate with the rest of the world. So this was a strong reason. And then the rest, the how part was relatively easier. Right now, it's much easier. So I guess first understanding your why, internalizing it, like writing it down, seeing it in front of your eyes every day, maybe putting it into the mirror, and then doing this regularly. So your brain wires on that, the neurons wire on that.
Yeah.
So every day, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, nothing like hardcore. It's like sports, basically.
Yeah.
You don't do like 2 hours one day and nothing for the 6 days. Every day, like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes rest a bit. nothing too hardcore. And then at some point make it a part of your life, like making international friends, maybe traveling, using applications where you talk to people, playing games, watching movies. So make it fun for yourself. And then in a few months you will see that you can actually communicate. And then the more you do, the more English is in your life, you will see the quality of your life increases. Because you can have international friends, that it's a prestigious language to speak. In your job applications, they will always ask you, do you speak English, if it's like high-level job.
Yeah.
So once you have English out of the way, and you don't have to be like perfect.
Yes,
I'm also making mistakes. You're also making mistakes.
Yes.
Probably Queen Elizabeth is also making mistakes. That's fine. We make mistakes in our native languages.
Yes.
When you start doing it, when it's a part of your life, it grows, and then it changes your life completely.
Yes. Totally.
So yeah, seeing it as the friend, not being afraid to fail, understanding your why, and keeping it regularly as a part of your life, also your social life, is the best way to learn. There's no miracle, there's no shortcut. But I know people that improve their languages in less than 6 months. It is possible with regular work, and enjoying it, of course.
Yes, enjoying. And I think that that's super important that you said that understand why. I mean, because we know that we have to get a better job or these kind of things of social, that you speak English, you are better than people that don't speak English.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that I have never heard that why. I mean, you have to specify to yourself
why you're doing this.
why are you doing
Exactly.
English, and I think that almost everything
Everything in your life.
Yes.
If you want to be a doctor, you should ask why. Because then it makes a difference. Sometimes people want to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer because the parents want. So you make yourself believe.
Total.
But then it's not what you want. And when you find out you're already a doctor for 10 years, you're miserable. So asking this question early for everything, like why do I want to be a trainer? Why do I want to be an entrepreneur? Why do I want to learn English? Why do I want to marry? And finding out answers that really motivate you. And if it doesn't, then not doing it. I think it's the best way.
Yes, and to be honest with you, like
You have to be honest with yourself.
why be honest and get it. I mean, you will fail.
Yeah.
I mean, try to get your best, but you will fail.
Yeah, it's okay to fail.
So
Like,
that's okay.
it's like a baby learning to walk. Like baby falls
Yes.
100, 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Like none of the babies say, okay, I quit. I will not walk. I will not try. They do it until they walk. So when we grow up, I think we forget our potential because of the society, the system. Like you cannot do it. It's not your
You should
talent.
know.
Why are you doing it? You should
Yes.
know better. So, yeah.
Yes.
And our cultures, as you know, it's not very supportive of creativity.
Yes.
So it's more like go to school, get a good grade. My father was the same, and go to have a job, earn good money, buy a car, buy a house, and then you die basically. So
Yes.
have a family, have a kid, have the second kids, have grandsons.
Yes. It's
That's okay, but
Yes.
you should understand: is that what you want?
Yes.
If it's perfect,
you should ask the same.
exactly. If it is
Why?
what you want, perfect. Yeah.
Work for
Why?
you?
Why don't? You can ask this
Yeah.
everywhere. Like, why do I want to do it?
Yes. Totally.
And maybe like with pen and paper, so you can also have time to reflect.
Yes, and you can read it probably tomorrow, and you like, oh, probably.
Yeah, exactly. It
not
doesn't
exactly
motivate
my
me,
way, yes.
or like it motivates me a lot. So
Yeah.
let's do it.
Amazing. So, for finish, what would you tell to your person from
10 years before.
yes, probably, I don't know, 18 or
Yeah.
17 more or less?
It's a good question. Like, I wouldn't change anything because all the mistakes that I did made me the person who I am today, right?
Yeah.
So if I hadn't done those mistakes, then I wouldn't be the person because I learned from these mistakes.
Yeah.
But obviously, if I had the chance, I would have read more. Like now I read a lot, but back then not too much. Read a lot, like work efficiently and do things that you really like, and also be polite with people, like be kind, but also set boundaries, like know when to say no,
Yeah.
and also look for new opportunities. My English was good back then, so I would congratulate myself on like understanding this at a very early stage, and keep on traveling, keep on discovering, and also make sure you don't forget where you came from.
Yeah.
And also I would tell myself to be more open-minded in the sense, like towards money, towards success, and understand that having those isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like being rich doesn't make you a bad person.
Nah.
Being successful doesn't. A lot of society, they blame successful or rich people because they're jealous or they don't understand. So I would tell myself like, don't listen to other people. Take what you need. If you don't agree, don't fight with them. Just either say okay, or if it's not an important person, just walk away.
Yes.
And focus your energy on good things. And when you do that, be a world citizen, work efficiently, do what you want, and most importantly, have good quality people around you, and obviously nurture your relationships. And always be kind to people, and love yourself, respect yourself, and know your value. So these would be the biggest things that I would have told to myself.
Wow. Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. So, do you want to tell something in Spanish for our community in Mexico and Latin America?
Sí, creo que aprender idiomas es muy no importante, pero muy precioso. Unas cosas que para mí es muy bueno para mí hacer mí mismo más mejor cada día es aprender idiomas también, porque cuando tú aprendes otros idiomas, tú aprendes otras culturas, otras personas, tú comunicar con el corazón de las personas, tú entiendes el mundo más. Si tú no hablo español perfectamente, pero 2 años antes no habla nadie, sí, ahora puedo comunicar, no perfecto como mi turco o inglés, pero sí puedo comunicar. Entonces para mí aprender idiomas, español es un idioma muy importante, muchas personas hablan.
Sí.
Entonces, es como yo sentir como estoy un persona más.
Sí.
Tenemos una palabra en turco, dime un idioma, un persona, 2 idiomas, 2 personas.
Okay.
Sí, cuando yo aprender más idiomas, yo sentir como si estoy una persona más grande.
Sí.
Porque sí, puedo comunicar con más personas en el mundo. Sí.
Totalmente.
Entonces, sí.
Totalmente. Actually, I learned English. Well, I'm learning Deutsch.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
yes, but for this kind of things, like when you learn a language, you learn like the world in other words. Like probably it's not the man or the article. It changed it. It's like man.
Yeah.
I have never think that, I don't know, the moon probably could be a man or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. The sun is a woman. Yeah.
Yes, and it's like, okay, so that's how you learn, that's how you see the world, and that's how you actually think. I mean, you get another like way to think.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
super cool. And the second one is exactly for, I think that when you learn more languages, you have like more tools, more people. And I love to travel too. I mean, I have been in 14 countries.
That's
not
good.
Exactly 83, but it's super important that you feel like comfortable, like getting with someone, and you know that you will be like that you can communicate with them, and it's like you don't feel fear. Obviously, you are not gonna be the speaker with them or something like that, but you can ask for something, for help, for, I don't know, information, whatever you want. So that's something that that's probably my why too. The part
to learn languages, to communicate with the world.
Yes. So, pues eso ha sido todo por este episodio. Esperamos que lo hayan disfrutado tanto como nosotros. Sigan a Percin en sus redes sociales.
Percin Imrek. Sí, en Instagram, LinkedIn.
Ahí les vamos a dejar en la descripción todas sus páginas, todo, porque créanme que este hombre es 7 libros, TED Talker, Udemy. Pueden comprar algunos de sus cursos de inglés, Entrepreneur. En fin, este hombre es una joya, es una cosa de otro mundo.
Gracias.
Entonces, por ahí les dejamos sus páginas. Vayan a darse una vuelta. En sus historias pueden practicar el inglés muy bien. Turco no creo que sea
sí, si tú quieres. Sí.
Pero por ahí pueden encontrar muchísimo valor. Chequen su canal de YouTube.
Sí,
ahí también tiene consejos buenísimos. Lee muchísimo, créanme. Yo tuve la fortuna de vivir con él una semana.
Sí.
Y wow con la cantidad que lee. Wow, realmente al despertar antes de dormir. Ahí lo tienen, amigos. Practiquen su inglés, y si no tienen buen listening, recuerden, vayan a verlo a nuestro canal de YouTube. Ahí tiene subtítulos neta tienen que ver. ¿Va? Nos vemos.
Gracias. Chao.
Bye.